Hello, and welcome from another episode of What's for Dinner. Tonight we are doing half pepperoni pizza, half cheese. We are making homemade dough, and we are going to be doing homemade sauce. So in this bowl, I have 2 cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay. In this, I have 3/4 cups of warm water and 1.5 teaspoons of sugar. And in here, we are going to add 1 packet of active dry yeast. I'm going to add 1 packet dry yeast. We're going to stir this up without making a mess, preferably. We're going to leave this to sit for 5 minutes until it becomes foamy. Once it becomes foamy, then you know your yeast is active, and then you can continue on with the rest of the dough. Okay, while we wait for the yeast to sit, to do its thing, we're going to get started on the tomato sauce. Because the tomato sauce, I'm going to blend it all the ingredients together in the blender. Then I'm going to put it in a saucepan on the stove to simmer for an hour, the same amount of time that it takes for the dough to sit. So let's get started on this. So I have a can of diced tomatoes, steamed and peeled. This is a 14.5 ounce can. And then I'm going to take a 6 ounce small can tomato paste. There we go. That's better. If you're having trouble hearing me, try turning your audio all the way up. Unfortunately, my phone doesn't handle speakers very well. Put that in there, put that, done with that. Okay. My family and I are very, have acid reflux and stuff like this. So I'm going to go ahead and add a tablespoon and a half of sugar. Okay. Now, for my seasonings, I'm not chopping up any onions or garlic for this. You can if you wish, but this is already a lengthy process enough as it is, so I'm going to skip that part. So we're going to put in a ton of garlic. Gotta love it when it smokes up in your face like that. I'm going to do some minced onion. Let's get this out of the way so you can see better. There we go. Got some Italian seasoning. And you want to put a generous amount in. And of course, as it's cooking on the stove, you can taste it periodically. And if you think it needs a little more of something, then obviously don't hesitate to add it. I don't think I put this in yet. No, I didn't. Onion powder. And my blender is very, very loud, so I'm going to be blending this off camera because I don't want to deafen people as well as myself. Okay, and this is oregano. And if I'm not pronouncing any of this stuff right, I don't care. I'm not after a pronunciation award. Right, so, and then we're going to blend all this up. We're going to take a spoon, And I just got done and check it, make sure that there is no chunks, make sure that everything is smooth. And you're more than likely not going to use all of this for your pizza, but obviously you can refrigerate it and you can reuse it for when you make like spaghetti or goulash, anything, pasta. There's just nothing beats pizza like homemade dough and homemade sauce. So now we're going to go put this onto the pot on the stove. You want the pot to be at least a little bit bigger than what you have so it has room to pop up so it's not splattering all over your stove. It took me a long time to learn that. The point of you don't want to simmer it too long because it is originally thick with the pasta, with the tomato paste. The reason, sorry, like I said, I have a stutter and I can't always do anything about it. The reason I simmer it a little bit is to give it time for all those seasonings to cook and flavor the sauce. So the more the seasonings cook in there, the better flavor your pizza sauce is going to be. Okay, this is what it looks like when it's ready. You can go ahead and add this to the dough, as well as a tablespoon of olive oil. I'm just gonna quickly take this off so my sleeves stop falling down. Okay. And you're going to slowly increment all of this in so you don't spill it on the counter, especially the yeast, because every bit of the yeast is important. I'm not using my mixer because my KitchenAid is heavy and I don't want to deal with it. So I am perfectly okay with mixing stuff by hand. Besides, somebody out there watching my video may not have a mixer and would like to know how to do this. I'm going to put this to the side and yet again take my rings off. Start working it in. Pizza dough making is tiring and a lot of work, and those who say it isn't are lying. So don't be alarmed if your dough does not come out as a smooth ball, because when you're doing it by hand, it usually doesn't. As mixing it by a mixer usually makes sure that it comes into a smooth dough ball. But you just don't want your dough flaky, because when you go to roll it out, it's just going to fall apart. So I end up adding, so if you feel that your dough is too dry and it needs, it needs more water, it's not sticking together, it needs more oil. Okay, so I am done with that. This is what she looks like. Not perfect, but it's after 4 o'clock and I don't care. So we're going to let this dough sit for an hour, and while this is sitting for an hour, we're going to start simmering our sauce. So we'll be back in an hour. Damp a paper towel, wet it, and squeeze all the water and make sure it's just damp. And then you're going to place it on top of the ball. This is on top of the dough. This is to make sure that the dough doesn't dry out or crack while it's resting. need one of those thingies on the wheel for this. Gotta poke holes in it so that it ventilates and doesn't bubble. It's a trick I learned working for a deli when I was living in Virginia when we did our pizzas, but they had the thing on a wheel that made it easier than how I'm doing it. I don't have one, so I have to use a fork. Pizza making is certainly a lot of work. Sorry, I'm not talking much through this, but it's getting late and I just want to push through this. Sorry. Alright, and this cup, I'm gonna add some more oil. Alright, I'm gonna add some garlic to it. Italian seasoning. Just to give the dough some flavor. And as soon as the oven finishes preheating, I started that a little late, my fault. It's 375. I'm gonna put it in the oven, pre-bake it for about 8 minutes before you, and then you're gonna put your sauce and your cheese and whatever toppings there's beef now, and whatever toppings your heart desires for your pizza, and then you'll put it back in until the cheese is melted and the crust is golden brown. Maybe I'll do the outside too, because I'll give it some. Just gonna do the outside too. All right. How is it?
It was so good.
It's yummy pizza. After 2 hours worth of cooking, let's see how she came out. It came out really good.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Have a good night.